Hi everyone, this is Yunus. Welcome back to my channel. This video is about a hands-on exercise where we'll see how an S3 event such as object upload can trigger a Lambda function which can process that uploaded data or uploaded file. In this hands-on exercise, anyway, we don't want to do any heavy processing of that particular file, but what we'll make our Lambda function do is that it will just copy that object to another bucket. So basically what will happen is you upload an object into the origin bucket, that will trigger an event, and that event will invoke a Lambda function, and that Lambda function will copy that object from this origin bucket to a destination bucket. No rocket science, but this lab exercise is to learn a few things. And what are we going to learn here? See, the focus of learning here is how the Lambda function is written using Boto3, which is Python SDK, and how we use the event notification to connect the object upload event to trigger the Lambda function. We'll also see creation of S3 buckets using CLI commands. Then in the AWS console, S3 console, we will set up the event notification, which is a very simple process. We will also learn about the role and permissions required by the Lambda function to do these tasks. It requires write permission and read permission to the S3 bucket. Without that, the Lambda function cannot do this particular task. And we will also see how we can configure the Lambda function using AWS CLI. We will see that as well. So let's begin. I'll provide the code which I am going to use in this lab. I'll provide that code in the description. I will also mention the detailed steps so that you can also easily do this particular lab. Okay, let's start. Okay, let's begin the lab exercise by launching an EC2, an Ubuntu EC2. I will do these steps quickly because launching an EC2 most of you would be very familiar. So I'm in EC2 console. Let me do it quickly as I mentioned. Launch instance. I'll say Lambda lab Ubuntu. Latest one is okay. And instance type T2 micro. Key pair, I will use an existing key pair. And network settings, you just need the SSH traffic, but I will allow anyway SSH and HTTP traffic I'm going to allow through my security group. So it will create a new security group. Just select these two. Storage 8 GB is more than enough. You don't need to change anything else. Just launch the instance. Now we have to wait till this instance is up and running. In the meantime, you can start a terminal or command prompt. Okay, it is in running state. Select this and connect and go to SSH client and copy this connection string and go to your terminal and go to downloads, because that is where your key pair file is kept. Just paste the connection string, okay, enter, say yes. Now we need an origin bucket and destination bucket. Let us create two buckets. But before that, I also want to ensure that the required runtime is running in this particular EC2. Let me check if Python 3 is running. Yes, it is running, so no issues. Now let me install Boto3. Pip install Boto3. What is Boto3? Boto3 is the SDK library for Python, meaning if you are writing a Python program to manage the AWS services, to create, terminate, to operate the AWS services, then you need this Boto3 library. So you have to install it. So it says pip command not found. Let's install Python 3 pip, so that using that we can install AWS CLI as well as Boto3. Sudo apt install Python 3 pip -y. First you have to do sudo apt update. Okay, then repeat the command. So pip is getting installed. Now let's try to install Boto3, which is the Python SDK. Okay, Boto3 is installed. Now let me also install the AWS CLI, the command line interface. Sudo apt install AWS CLI -5. Okay, just check if AWS is installed. Okay, AWS CLI is installed. Now I have to configure my profile. My access key ID and secret access key need to be provided so that I can establish that okay, this session is owned by my user ID. So how do we do that? You can just do AWS configure. It will ask for access key ID. You have to get your access key ID. From where will you get the access key ID? You go here, your top right corner, your name is there. Click on security credentials and you can come here AWS IAM credentials and you will see the access key here. You can create a new access key and get your access key ID and secret access key. So just create new one. I want to use it for CLI and next training. I'll just give that as the tag. Then create access key. So I have got my access key. You can actually download it, but here I'm going to use it only for this creation, video creation. After that I will delete it. So I'm not downloading it. So I copied the access key ID, just enter, then go back and get the secret access key and paste it again. Region you can leave it as such, output format also same thing. Now just to see if my profile it is taking, I can just do AWS S3 LS to see if it is taking my user ID. It is, so I can just clear it. Now what next? I need to create two buckets, one for origin and one for destination. So I can use this AWS CLI command, AWS S3 make bucket or MB, then you have to give the URI path like this, origin bucket 111. Okay, so let me issue this command to create a bucket called origin bucket 111. Okay. If you want to see if that bucket is created, you can do AWS S3 LS. You can see the origin bucket. Now I need one more bucket, that is for destination bucket. So what is the command for that? AWS, then S3, then MB for make bucket, then S3:/ destin bucket 222. This is the name I'm going to give. Okay, so now I have got the destination bucket and origin bucket. Now what else I need? I need a Lambda function which can process the data. And as I said, the processing is only copying the object from origin to destination. That is the only processing. But I need a Lambda function. So let me create the Lambda function. When you create the Lambda function, it needs a IAM role which gives it permission for S3 and CloudWatch, because it needs to write some data into CloudWatch log streams and it want to copy a file from S3 and write into S3. So it needs read and write access to S3. So here I am, IAM roles. So let me create a role. Okay, this is for Lambda service, AWS service you can choose, and here it is for Lambda. So just choose Lambda, say next. Here it is asking what all permission policies you want to give. I need to give Amazon S3 full access. So it is there. So I just selected that. Now I need to give CloudWatch full access. CloudWatch full access. I select that also. Go to next. So you can see that the two permissions are already here. So it is asking what is the role name. I will say any name is okay, but my Lambda role 101 is S3 and CloudWatch access. Click on create the role. Okay, role is created. Now I need to create a Lambda function. So go to Lambda console. Okay, now we need to create a new Lambda function. Let me click on create function. Author from scratch. I will provide the code and I will call this function S3 copy function. And runtime is Python 3.10. Permissions. This is where I have to specify the role which I created. Use an existing role, and here I have to say my Lambda role 101. Selected that. Create the function. So the function is also created. Now I need to link this Lambda function with the S3 origin bucket events. So how do I do that? Let us go to S3 and let us choose the origin bucket. This is the origin bucket. Okay, select that. Go to properties and set up your event notification. Properties, come down. Here you have event notification. So click on create event notification and you can say event name, object, upload event. Prefix, suffix, nothing, that is not required. So for what all events you need this notification to work, I will say all object create events. Either you can select any of these individually or you can choose everything together. So I will choose everything together. Come down again. It is asking what is your destination. You are sending this event to where? Are you sending it to SNS topic, SQSQ or Lambda function? I am sending it to Lambda function, and then it is saying choose from your Lambda functions. So I will just select this and I have my S3 copy function. Save changes. Okay, so now it is linked with the Lambda function. The event is linked with the Lambda function, so there is a trigger. Let's go to the Lambda console and refresh this. It doesn't show any trigger as of now, but let's refresh. You can see that the S3 trigger, after refresh, the S3 trigger is actually appearing. So it says it is from the origin bucket, and if you want to see the details, it says event type S3 object created, etc. You can check that what all things are mentioned here. Okay, now, but where is the code? There is some default code here, okay, but this will not work for our purpose. You need to provide your code. Let us go back to the EC2 terminal, and then we have to create the Python code for copying the object from the origin bucket to the destination bucket. So here is my terminal. Let me see if there is any file there. No files are there. I'm going to use nano editor to create a Python program, s3 copy.py. Now here you have to start by importing Boto3 and JSON. These are all libraries available for Lambda functions. We will be using some library functions from Boto3 and JSON. Boto3 of course you need because that is the Python SDK. So import Boto3 and JSON. After that, see, we need to do Boto3 S3 client initialization. What is the client initialization? If we need to use all the methods, all the functions, S3 related functions available in Boto3 SDK function library, first you need to create an S3 client, which will be the object through which we can access all the available methods. So let us see, okay, how this is done. I'm going to call it S3 client. S3 client equal to, you can say Boto3.client of S3. So after this, I will be able to use all the functions available to manipulate the S3 buckets. Instead of this Boto3 client in bracket, if I give EC2, then this client will be able to access, or this client will provide me all the methods which can be used for manipulating EC2. But here what we need is S3, so that's why we are including this particular line. After that, I have to define a function called Lambda handler, okay, and the arguments are event and context that you can see here. You can see here, that is the template. So I'm going to use the same template. So event context. Now let us specify the destination bucket name. Destination bucket name equal to, what is the name we had given? Destin bucket 222. Okay. So we'll be using this destination bucket name in one of the procedure calls. Now let's come down and let's retrieve the source bucket name and source object name from the event itself. And what is the event? Event is the JSON document which will be sent from S3 through event notification to this Lambda function. So let us retrieve the bucket name. I will just say retrieve source bucket name from the received event. You can say source bucket name equal to event, okay, and then it has multiple, it is like a multi-dimensional table, okay. So you will have to first retrieve all the records, okay, and this, there is only one record anyway, so it will be the first record of 0, and then there will be another dimension where it will mention whether it is for S3 or EC2 or any other service. So you have to choose S3, and then it will specify after S3, it will specify what is the bucket name. Okay, you have to specify that, and bucket has several configuration details. What we need is bucket name. Bucket has many other things, so we need the bucket name. So that is about the source bucket name. What about the object name? That also we need. So I will say file key name, which is nothing but equal to event, okay, you can reuse the same thing till a certain point, okay, and here S3 and here object and then key. Okay, so we have retrieved the source bucket and file name. Now we can call the copy function. Okay, so I'll say copy source object to destin bucket. Okay, so for that S3 client, actually this S3 client, that is an object in Python SDK or Boto3 with several methods to manipulate the S3 buckets, and one of those methods available is copy object. So let me access it by S3 underscore client dot copy underscore object, then we have to give all the parameters required. You have to say copy source equal to, okay, before this let us establish the copy source object. Copy source object equal to bucket source bucket name, comma, key file key name. Okay, now we can use this copy source object as one of the parameters to be passed into this copy object method. So here I will say copy source equal to copy source object. Okay, now we have to give the destination bucket equal to destination bucket name and key equal to file key name, because we are going to use the same object name. If you want to change the object name, you can change it here, but otherwise I'm going to use the same object name. Okay, you have to close the bracket. So that part of the program is done. Now if you want to return something, you can do return and status code, you can return it as 200. Okay, and then in the status body you can say, you can use json.dumps and you can say object is copied successfully. Okay, and then you have to close the curly bracket. So that's it, our code is now ready. You can use Ctrl O and enter and Ctrl X. Okay, so I will give you the code as part of the description. Now I need to create a zip file with this particular code. That is how I upload this code into Lambda. So for that, what do I use? Zip s3 copy dot zip s3 copy dot py. First you have to give the zip file name. After that you can give the list of files. Here anyway I have only one file to be included in the zip file, so I have included that. Just enter. So command zip not found. Just do sudo apt install zip -5. Okay, now repeat the previous command and just do ls. You can see that the zip file is ready. Now I need to copy this code into the Lambda function. For that there is a CLI command. So let me just type that here. You can do AWS Lambda, then update function code. Okay, then you have to give the function name. What is the function name? Our function name was s3 copy function. And so from which zip file you have to take the code? You can say zip file b s3 copy dot zip. Okay, just check if there is any spelling mistakes, etc., and just enter. So what will happen is this code right now, this is the code for this particular Lambda function. If you see, this is the Lambda function and the code is the default code. Now after I give this command, after I enter this command, this will be replaced with my code. So let us see. Okay, so it says you must specify a region. So what you can do is either you can run AWS configure and specify the region, or in this command itself you can give that. So let me give it in the command itself, region US East 1. Okay, so that is done. Let me go and check if the code is available. So now unless you refresh it, it will not change. You can see the code here, whatever I have written. Now I need to change the Lambda handler for this Lambda function to this one, Lambda handler. How do I do that? Again, there is a command for that. Let me type that. You have to say AWS Lambda update function configuration. Okay, I'll just enter in the next line. Then you have to say function name S3 copy function. Again, next line. Then you have to say handler. That's what we are trying to change. Handler S3 copy dot lambda handler. See, S3 copy is the name of the Python program you have written, and this is the function name within that, lambda handler. So that is how you have to do it. Enter. Again, it is saying you must specify a region. So this time, instead of specifying it in the command, what I will do is I will just do AWS configure, and this access key ID is okay, I don't need to change. The third one is region, so I am going to say US East 1, enter, enter. Now I will repeat the same command without giving region. See, you can see that it accepted because I have in the configuration itself, in the profile itself, I have mentioned US East 1 as my region. So now it is ready to be executed. So now I am going to copy this S3 copy.zip into the origin bucket. Before that, let us check if there is anything already present in the origin bucket. For that, you can do AWS S3 ls, then S3 origin bucket 111. Nothing will be there. Same way, you can do destination bucket also. Nothing is there. Okay, I am going to upload this S3 copy.zip into origin bucket, and what should happen is my Lambda function will automatically copy that from the origin bucket to the destination bucket. Let us see if that is going to happen. So the command for copying it, this one is AWS S3 cp, then S3 copy.zip. Okay, this is the file which I want to copy. Then you have to give the URI of your origin bucket. What is the URI of your origin bucket? This is the one. So I can copy and paste one. Okay, now what should happen is ideally this file should get copied into origin bucket, and my Lambda function will copy it into the destination bucket. Okay, it is copied. Now let me repeat these two commands to see if the same file should be there in both the buckets. Let me check origin bucket first. You can see that that file is uploaded. Now the destination bucket doesn't have it. That means our Lambda function failed. Something did not happen. So let us see what is the problem. You can go to CloudWatch and you have to go to logs, log groups. Okay, so here you can see S3 copy function. Okay, so let me click on this. So this is yesterday's, so let me just delete this, click on this. So there is an error. What is the error? Destination bucket name is not defined in traceback. Okay, see, there is a spelling mistake actually. Okay, let me correct that. Let me go to S3 copy function and let me go to code. So here only I will correct that. Where is the, here there is a spelling mistake. Destination bucket name. Now it should be correct. Just deploy it. Okay. Now let me upload this S3 copy file once again. So it will overwrite that and it will be considered as a new upload and it will be copied into the destination bucket. What I can do is I can just do history and I need to repeat this particular command 43. So I can do like this. So it is uploaded. Now let me check in destination bucket whether it is available or not. Just do 45. It is not there. Let me go back and check in the CloudWatch. So go back, log groups, refresh, click on S3 copy function. Yeah, this is the latest. Click on this. Now what is the error? It says parameter validation failed, missing required parameter in input key. So it is there in line number 17. So let us go there. Yeah, so this actually should be K capital. Okay, so that is the other mistake. Okay, so this is how you actually debug any issues with the Lambda function. Again deploy it. Okay, deployed. Now go to the terminal. Let me try 43 again, which means it will upload the same zip file once again to the origin bucket and immediately it should be copied into the destination bucket. Okay, it is uploaded. Now let me try 45 again. Now you can see that in the destination bucket that file is actually copied. So you can go to the console and confirm that go to your S3, and this is origin bucket. If you go to the objects, you will see the zip file. Now let us go to the destin bucket 222, and you can see that s3 copy.zip is just now copied. And if you go to CloudWatch, you can see that this time there won't be any errors. Just go to this one, that will be third one, the latest one. Just click on this. Now you can see that there are no errors here. Actually everything is perfect. So now you know how to write a simple Lambda program using Boto3 or Python SDK to copy a file from one S3 bucket to another S3 bucket based on a event notification which comes from the origin bucket as soon as a new object is uploaded to that particular bucket. So please don't forget to clean up. You have created a Lambda function, you have created two S3 buckets, you have created one EC2. You have to stop everything and you have to terminate everything so that there won't be any unnecessary billing for you. Please ensure that whatever you created, you have to stop it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will come back to you with more useful videos in future. Thank you. Bye.